Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everything's doing well wherever you're at today. I hope the Sierra's in your sights. Today, stick around. We're going to be talking Immigrant Wilderness again, and we're back with Aspen Meadow Pack Station. We had them; these guys on last year. Seth, Diemel. If I'm going to say that right, did I say Diemel or
Diemel, yeah, you're pretty
Diemel? We
close.
said
That's
it
good.
wrong last year.
Yep. It's all
Anyways,
good.
we have Seth back again this year to talk about the 2025 season for Aspen Meadows. But we're going to be diving into Immigrant Wilderness and some new opportunities for you to kind of envision and dream about for kind of all comers, if you will. Seth has got some programs that we're going to highlight today where you don't even have to ride the horse if you don't want to. He'll just take your gear in. So, Seth, how things been going? It's been about a year. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been going really good. Winter's been good so far, so it's nice to get a little break from the mountains this time of year. And but we're getting ready to get back, so we're itching for the snow to melt and go to work.
Yeah, and we're getting more snow this weekend. This will be a couple of weeks after the snow probably, but the late March snow here as we're finishing up March, so it'll be interesting to see how fast we can get in the mountains this spring. So
Yeah, well, these storms like this, they're super important. If we
yeah,
can put this little extra snowpack, it's going to make the streams and the lakes stay nice farther into the summer, keeps the fishing good, and makes it not as dusty too.
yep, absolutely.
So.
Now we talked early last summer. I thought we'd just take a real quick step back to last summer for you. If maybe you guys could give us kind of a review of last year, how did it go for Aspen Meadows? Any unique trips you guys did last year? You want to tell some stories on?
Yeah, we had a really busy summer. The big stuff we did last year that is probably new and exciting for us is we do a lot more of these all expense trips where we take care of everybody from, the tents and gear to the cooking, the firewood, the whole shebang. It's, fully catered. And then the other fun stuff doing more of, at least, which is good, is we do a bunch more just backpacker assisted trips, which is nice for the guys that, they don't need any of our help, but they want to put more miles on so we can get them a little farther. And then, as always, we do a ton of day ride stuff for
Yeah.
families and kids and camps. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
I'm gonna get to the backpacker stuff here in a few minutes because we're gonna talk about a trip that I have planned with you. But let's talk about families and kids. Let's start there. Families and
Right. Yeah.
kids day trip. We know that's a big part of your summer business. Families coming up to Pinecrest for the weekend, whether going camping or maybe they're just driving up for the day from Sonora or San Francisco or something like that. What's the length of an average trip? And like, what are some lakes that people like to get to? Or do you guys have like two or three lakes you just kind of think these are our target day trips?
Yeah, so I mean, it starts as simple for family stuff as you can just come up and go on an hour ride, right? Like you
Okay.
can bring the kids up and they can just go on a little hour ride, get to meet some horses, and just do the horseback thing. But as far as the camping goes, I mean, once kids are 7 years old, I can take them anywhere. So
Okay.
we do a ton of family trips. It tends to be like a lot of families that just want to go fishing or
Hmm.
hiking, depending on what they're into. But probably the best lakes I try to get families too with kids where they get that horseback experience so they can ride and be around the horses, but it's also not too far that it's a bad experience.
Yeah.
It's usually like Toe Jam Lake or Upper Relief. We usually try to get to one of those two, just because the fishing's good, the riding's easy. It's not a lot of rocks. It's not
Hmm.
too difficult, so they're not going to get scared. And it's only like 3 to 4 hour ride, so
That's
any
nice.
little kid with some Skittles and M&Ms and salad bags can get that far. So
I like that. Skittles and
yeah,
M&Ms and M's and salad bag. Here's your pro tip of the day. Yeah.
so
I,
yeah, make
I,
it easy.
I saw the Toe Jam Lake on my route. I'll be looking at that is one of the things I'm doing. I'm wondering, is there like a most popular lake for riders who know about Immigrant Wilderness that they all like to go to this one location?
Yeah, so like the most popular area that we go to, like when I was a kid, we always called it the Disneyland of the immigrant, is going to be like Wood Lake.
Okay.
And what makes that spot cool is that there's like 10, 15 lakes right around it, and they're all real close. So
Mhm.
like that Wood Lake, Deer Lake, Bucks Lake triangle just gives the guy so many options with a base camp. So you could go into that area, stay for 7 days, and you can go see a new lake every day, pretty much. So
Again, that would
um,
be that would be great for families too, but that's a little bit further out,
correct.
right? That's a
Yeah, you're
uh,
4 or 5 hours of
okay.
riding, so it's a little farther, but still totally doable. I mean, I take younger kids and families and stuff that far constantly.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah,
And
it's totally
what's that?
doable too.
What's that first lake outside of your guys' camp? There's one that's kind of a little bit to the I think north of you guys. If you
Well, a couple close country lakes,
Uh-huh.
but with the Immigrant, most of those close country lakes are all one night limit.
Oh, okay.
So like Grouse Lake, Camp Lake, Bear Lake, like all those are one night limit. So it kind of, for anything that we offer, we never go to those. We just ride by
Oh, you just
them.
right by. Okay, great.
Yeah, because you can only stay for the night, and most families are going for 4 or 5 days.
Okay, perfect. Well,
So
that was my next question. How long do families usually go out and stay? So 4 to 5 days is kind of a good window, right? So.
yeah, I try to talk people always into going for 5 days, but it just
Mhm.
depends on schedules, right?
Yep.
Because if you're going to go somewhere, those travel days are a lot of work. By the time you get to the pack station, unload your stuff, get the kids horseback, family, ride for 4 hours, and then get set up. Only having 2 days in camp is not usually quite enough.
Yeah.
So having that 5 day trip gives you plenty of time, and it makes it really nice.
That's really nice. That's really nice. And I've looked at that woods like so. I'm gonna switch gears here for the readers. These guys offer a backpacker assisted trip, and I'm actually gonna be doing this in August with Seth and his group. I'm looking forward to. They're gonna drop me off at Woods Lake, and then I've got a whole circuit of lakes that I look forward to go photograph and just hike to. I'm even thinking about taking up fishing this year. I've looked at some fly rods, but
Yeah, it'd be fun. You should.
but I should do that, right? So take me through that experience now. As it could be a family, a backpacker, a fisher, it could be a group of guys, whatever it is. But how does that work now for backpacking assistant? Let's go through that program.
So for what you're going to be doing this summer in August, basically it's pretty simple. Like your gear just has to be on the dock by 6:30 that morning,
Mm-hmm.
and we take everything per backpack. So we just charge per backpack up to 50 pounds,
Okay,
and which is a pretty heavy
that's a
backpack.
heavy
So
backpack. Yeah.
you can bring that extra stuff. So what most guys do is they'll pack a frozen steak and some beers or something in for that
Yep.
first night, and your backpack's just going to meet you at Wood Lake,
Yep.
and you're going to hike in with just water bottle lunch that day,
Yep.
and your backpack's going to be waiting there right at the front of the lake. We call it the no camping sign, and that's where we drop all that stuff. And
Okay.
so right when you make a turn right coming into the lake, your backpack's there, you pick it up, and then you're on your own.
Okay.
And what's cool about like Wood Lake, especially for that, like most guys that are doing what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
like Wood Lake's not usually the place you want to stay because it's right on the main trail. But
Yeah.
once you get to that area that I ride by constantly all the time, so it's easy for me to get your stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
There's, like I said, 10 lakes right there that's easy to get to. So like 10 minutes off the trail, like Carl's Lake is right there,
Yep.
or Coyote and Cole. And so it makes it really easy to just jump over somewhere with your backpack, and you got the whole place to yourself. So
Yeah, it's really cool. That's
that's
one of
pretty
the
neat.
things that when you told me about Wood Lake, that's what I noticed too. It's like, oh, once I pick up my bag, I could go in almost any direction, a couple miles, and I've got my opportunities are kind of unlimited there.
Yeah, usually too, those lakes, they're your lake too. You're not going to see another person. Like you bounce over the Red Can, which is right at the top end of Wood Lake,
Yeah,
15 minutes off the trail, and shoot, you got it to yourself. And hey, that's awesome.
exactly. You know what you can't tell? I've had my paper map out, and I'm circling different routes I possibly could take, and length of miles might be. What I can't really tell is the relief difference in Immigrant Wilderness, right? Not somebody who's never been out there. Like I've never hiked in Immigrant Wilderness, so I don't quite understand the depth of the canyons, or these lakes look like they literally look like they're right next to each other. But it's like, how big a ridge is that? It's like, is it 400
Right? Yeah.
feet or is it 1,000 feet? It's like have to count lines and everything. So tell
The
me
the
about
big
the
thing,
country out there a little bit.
yeah, the big thing with our country is just how much rock there is. So like
Mm-hmm.
you've looked at that like Wood Lake area, and then you looked everything to the side of that as you go towards like Red Can or Carl's or Pingree Lake. There's so much granite. It's not really steep or anything, but it is hard to cover that country because you
Yeah.
can bluff out real easy. And they have more of those problems where you get up on this granite shelf and it's like, I only got to go 15 feet down there, but how do I get down that
How
15
do I
feet?
get down that thing?
So, and everything in that side of the wilderness below Wood Lake is all class 3 wilderness. So there's no trails, there's no management as far as that goes. So,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it really nice for guys like you that want to just go check out country and you not see a lot of people and stuff.
Yep.
But the flip side is learning the country is really difficult too.
Yeah.
Just like with anywhere, it's easy to get turned around. But I mean, these days with Garmin's and GPS and your phones, man, it's not that difficult. So, but we're pretty lucky too. Like our country, like the pack station's at 7,000 feet. The trailheads that we're going to leave from on your trip is probably just below 8.
Yep.
But like Wood Lake's probably only 8,500. So
Yeah.
I mean that shows you there's barely any elevation gain over the course of your day.
Yep.
getting there. And then once you're there, everything that you're going to be seeing from like Pingree Lake or Red Can or
Hmm.
going to Deer or Buck Lake, all that stuff's under 9,000 too. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So just
yeah,
climbing
not
over these little peaks and their own little valleys they have in granite bowls,
right.
if you will. And it seems like there's several of them that are connected by the same type of rivers, like the creeks are in the same area, so you can
Correct.
follow the basins down like that too. So, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
kind of one of the things I was looking at train wise is trying to get all these little map apps out here and go, okay, what's that canyon look like? Is there a pass right there? Can I walk over that? You know, can I
right.
connect these three lakes together because there's no trail out there and make a day
And
out of it? So.
And honestly, the best thing like I do with almost all my guys is like because I'm gonna get the map out, just old
Mhm.
fashioned paper map out with everybody that I'm taking, and we'll be like, okay, we're gonna drop your stuff right here, and then we can go over all like, hey, you want, we can even pencil it on your map and just be
Yep.
like, hey, we want to go through here just like this, and that's the fastest way to get through this country and get you a loop. So that
Yeah,
stuff's pretty
that's.
simple to
I'll look
do.
forward to doing that with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I was looking at. I think I told you before. Big Lake is in a lake that I've really got highlighted on my
yeah, you
lap to
got to
get
see
to.
that.
Right, so it's like,
Got to see
but I
it.
don't want to go directly to it. It's like I go. I want to do a loop around to it almost if I can. So I'm trying to figure out like how do I go, further east and go down south and come back around but I'm looking at that ridge line going,
Right.
there's some tricks in there. That could be a little more difficult.
Yeah.
But
So
there's also,
that Big Lake and Hyatt country that you're
yeah,
talking about. It's
yeah,
like Big Lake and Hyatt. Those are probably the two prettiest lakes in the Immigrant.
yeah.
So if anybody's on like my Instagram and follows that, like those two lakes are featured all the time,
Yep.
because they're just so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. So I got my goal and hope is to get at least 10 lakes in a 4-day window of out there and then hike out. It's like okay and then obviously the last I want to be closer to you on my last hike instead of further out. So it's like I'm going to go out first and
Correct.
come back in. But that should be really nice. So I mean to be able to have the pack taken out the first day, and I was thinking that's going to give me so much freedom to go the first day instead of just like struggle to get to camp, stop, take photos, to check some things out off trail, because I just have to get there. I don't have to, worry about the weight on my shoulders. I can be a day hiker for the day, if you will, and get some more. I can even
Well,
go past Woods Lake and come back if I wanted to. So
right, 12 miles without a pack is not that big of a deal
not
either.
that big a deal at all. In fact, they're
Yeah.
pretty fast. Yeah.
So
So I
exactly.
look forward to that quite a bit. All right. So let's talk about fishing trips because I know that's a big piece. We got fishing season's going to start here in California here in April. Obviously, it's way too early to get Immigrant Wilderness probably in April here, but probably can you say by mid-May our hikers going to be able to start heading out there, even though you guys probably aren't ready to go?
It really just depends on the snow. Every year
Okay.
is different. So, I mean, I always tell guys like 4th of July on, you're really starting to get places.
Okay.
Before 4th of July, it's always a crapshoot. I mean, there's some years it's August before we can get to Wood Lake. I mean,
Oh, okay.
that's happened to me multiple times. And that's not uncommon at all.
Okay.
Where like Wood Lake's one of the last places you can get to on my side of the wilderness just because of the way it holds the snow.
Yep. Okay.
But like this year, I mean, my guess is by 4th of July, everything's going to be open. We're going to
Yep.
pretty much rolling everywhere.
Gotcha.
And then from then on, that early season fishing, if you're willing to fight the mosquitoes, is just incredible.
Absolutely. Got you. So
Yeah.
are there a lot of streams across in that bottom section? There's actually kind of a small little circle loop, that you guys follow. There's a lower route and an upper route that
Correct.
goes there,
Yeah.
correct? So is there a lot of stream crossing in there horses
So
obviously walk
we're
through it, but
we're pretty fortunate. Like,
yep,
if you go out of like that Kennedy's country, that northern end, they have
yep,
way more creek crossings and dangerous stuff like that.
yep,
On my side, there's hardly any creek crossings that are a problem. On the
okay,
flip side of that, there's not really any stream fishing because
yep,
these creeks are going to be ripping just in the spring, and then after that, they dry up pretty quick.
okay,
But so 90% of what we're going to be doing is lake fishing.
yep,
There's some spots where you're going to be getting into some canal fishing and some stream fishing. But for the most part, a lot of my guys, like, so we were talking about Big Lake earlier. That's
yep,
an awesome lake to fish, and guys will take float tubes in there. So I'll take like a party guys, drop them for 5-7 days. They'll just be on the lake all week with their float tubes,
okay.
and it's awesome.
Because that's one of the bigger lakes out there, right?
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, so that and Hyatt are the two deepest,
Okay.
and yeah, Huckleberry is actually the biggest lake, and it's the best fishing lake probably too, and it's the farthest to get to it. it almost borders the park.
Yeah. How far is Huckleberry out there? That's about
So it's like
16.
18,
Is it 18?
18
Okay.
miles. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, it's kind of, that stuff's hard. It depends on what map you look at,
Yeah,
and
it
who,
is.
who you talk to. Everybody has a different opinion.
Yep.
But I think it's about 18. It takes like 7 hours to ride in there.
Gotcha. And
Um,
then how many different ranges? Because I'm assuming those are just like finger ranges that are going down towards Yosemite. That's my assumption when I look at the map. It's like it's not one big hill. You've got multiple little
right.
ranges,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
So.
like all of those creeks that you see, like they
Hmm.
go through like, let's say Calmetto, Huckleberry, Louse Canyon, which is below Wood Lake there. Like
Yep.
all those are Cherry Creeks. Those are different forks of Cherry Creek that run into Cherry.
Okay.
So like that whole side that I operate on, all that water runs in the Cherry
Okay.
eventually.
So that's a
Yeah.
Cherry water reservoir. Okay.
Yeah, and you probably
Yep.
heard about like the kayak guys, in Cherry Creek.
Hmm.
That's on our side. That's like really big rapids they're all into and stuff.
Is it
Yeah, so that's
how far down is that? That's got to be down below
that's like
Hyatt
yeah,
Lake,
it's
right?
way farther, and those
Okay.
guys hike in. They're crazy.
Yep.
They put those kayaks on their back and they hike up that thing, and yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I can see the canyon where the creek goes up there. I've looked at that far and going, okay, there's a pretty big canyon right here.
Yeah.
That's got to be. There's got to be
So
some great waterfalls back there someplace too. But
oh, it's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
All that Cherry Creek drainage country, especially if you hit it early enough in the year when the water's still going good.
right,
It's probably some like that Cherry Creek that's in Louse Canyon.
yeah,
It's below Hyatt and everything
yeah.
it's incredible because it's solid granite walls and big just glass pools and
Very cool.
rapids, and yeah, it's pretty.
That's pretty. Well, yeah, I know that on your Instagram you guys go a lot to the Bucks Lake for your group camps, right? So,
Correct. Yeah,
but
I do most of my big all expense camps there at Buck. Yeah.
so what makes Bucks so special versus say for like Woods Lake, for example? Because they're only like looks like about a mile apart, really, maybe a mile and a half.
The big thing for Buck for me, and the reason I do like all those camps there is because they're so stock assisted. So I always have horses and mules with me on those trips,
Mm-hmm.
and that upper end of Bucks Lake has that huge meadow,
Okay.
and we got a trap there, so we can turn horses out there at night.
Oh,
Where
okay.
like Wood Lake, you can't have horses overnight at Wood Lake. Even if you could, there's no feed there. There wouldn't be any
Yeah.
way to keep them. So that's why like Buck Lake, Calmetto, and Huckleberry are popular spots for us to do those all expense camps, is because we can always keep stock overnight,
So
and there's plenty of feed for them.
you do go out to Huckleberry with a all
Yeah,
expenses also.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So
It's
you'll
not as
cover.
popular just because it's farther.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, right?
Most people don't want to ride that far anymore. Back when I was a kid, we would go to Huckleberry a couple times a week, but it's
Okay.
really changed the dynamic of how much time people have off and how far they want to go. People want it short and sweet for the most part, but
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah.
What is the hidden gem that you think of lakes that not enough people go to out there? Whether it's up a ridge they don't want to climb or there's some obstacle for people getting there, but
Yeah.
they really do miss by not going there. Yeah.
Anymore, honestly, it's like we used to, like I was just talking about Huckleberry. We used to be there multiple times a week. It was
Okay.
crazy. And there'd always be horses there overnight. You go to Huckleberry Lake now,
Uh-huh.
and it doesn't look like anybody's been there at all,
Really?
ever. Like it's totally untouched in comparison to like when I first started packing in the mountains, in like early 2000s,
Yeah.
mid 2000s. And anyway, so like Huckleberry is really untouched, which is something you wouldn't have said in 2010.
Yeah.
But the other stuff that's awesome that nobody goes to is like that stuff we were talking about in the southern end, because there's no trails to it. So like Big Lake and Hyatt and Pingree and Yellowhammer.
Yep.
First off, there's so much history back there with like the cabins and the trail crew and the
Mhm.
dams and everything. But also with no trails there, people just don't go.
Okay.
And because people are afraid to get off trail, which I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But getting into that country, it's probably some of the nicest part of the Emigrant, especially if you like big rocks and a lot of granite and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff.
That's
So,
fantastic. I look forward. Yeah, I'm gonna be looking at my map now. Going, can I make it out to Huckleberry and back and come?
yeah, that's a trek. But
Yeah.
Huckleberry is a lake that you go to. You can, at least that's what I always tell people, is if you have a 7 or 10 day trip
Yeah.
and you ride to Huckleberry Lake, you can literally stay there all week and be happy.
Be happy all week.
Like,
Right. Okay.
yeah, because it's such a big lake. I mean, it's all day to
Yeah.
try to fish around that whole lake. It's so big.
Crazy.
And there is good day hiking options and stuff from there, and you're close to the park, and it is
Yeah.
really neat. But I mean, you can just hang out on the raft on Huckleberry Lake and fish all week, and the fishing is unmatched. I mean, there's nothing like that in the world.
You've said that
So
twice now. People carrying rafts in. That's
Oh
what
yeah.
that's what we don't understand about horseback riding. Even still, is that back in when the Sierra was first being explored, and the old timers, everybody went with the mules and horses, and they used to
Right.
bring in like full kitchen stoves
100%.
and big tents and stay there for the summer, right? And
Yeah,
so
everywhere.
we don't
Super
think
common to
about
have
these
permanent
horses,
camps.
which are these beautiful animals that you just want to ride. But you got stock animals. They're used to carrying weight, and they're workhorses, right? I mean,
Right.
they're
Yeah.
meant for the task, right? So the whole idea of taking a rafting is like completely foreign to me as a backpacker. Going, I'm not carrying all that weight. It's like, but if you had the opportunity to use your service and take in some extra special items to really have a unique Sierra experience, that's really a pretty cool thing too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some people that's just being able to eat a nice steak at night. For other guys, it's like, hey, if I can bring my float tube, this changes the trip.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about, like Big Lake. Big Lake's extremely difficult to fish from the shore. Like it's
Okay.
really difficult because it's so deep and it's so massive that you need to get out in the middle of that lake or
Yeah.
closer to the shelves and stuff. And so float tubes allow you to do that. But I mean, heck, backpacking a float tube, man, that'd be miserable. So,
I would not backpack in with a float tube. That's no way.
right.
But
So,
so the one other loop I want to talk about, and I've looked at this map a lot. If you went to Woods Lake, for example, and then to Bucks Lake, there seems to be a route that goes up back north and comes back around to like Bear Lake.
yeah, so there's a
like
whole,
northern country up there. Is that
so
was that?
a lot of my guys do, like one of the actually most common loop trips I do, like we'll say we're going to drop at Wood Lake, then we're going to go around through Buck, maybe you could check Immigrant Hour or whatever. Then you're going to come out through Deer Lake and then head home through that upper trailhead to Gianelli's. So you're
Okay.
actually going to go through like Spring Meadow and Salt Lick and by Toe Jam Lake and all that country.
Yep.
And that's really neat because you're going to go in one trailhead and then I'll shuttle your cars up to Gianelli Trailhead for you. And
Oh, that's
then your
nice.
car's waiting for you at a different trailhead. So that way, the whole time, you never see the same trail, which is awesome.
That's pretty
And
fun. That's pretty awesome, right? And then you guys got a
yeah,
lot of big meadows up there too, right? So you keep saying these meadow
yeah,
names,
so
but that's some of the old videos I saw Immigrant Wilderness. A lot of people talk about the meadows and how awesome the meadows are in that area.
yeah, there's huge meadows on that upper end. So that Gianelli Trailhead
Yep.
is all big meadow country. So you have Salt Lick, Spring Meadow, you have White Sides, super pretty, and less lakes up there, more big meadows and open country.
Okay. You get many requests for people trying to go all the way to Kennedy Meadows or
We
vice
do
versa.
some
They're
loop
coming.
trips all the way around. Yeah,
Okay.
not as many as you think we would do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because it seems like that's a great loop. But every once in a while, we'll get some guys to go in. Like sometimes I've had guys go in my side, and
Yep.
then Kennedy's will pick them up and bring them back out. So
Right.
they'll do the loop like that, which is a cool way to do it. I've done some traveling trips where we'll go all the way through like
Yeah.
that.
As a
But not as
backpacker, that's what those are some of the things that kind of go through my mind. It's like, man, if you can get me to Woods Lake, from there I could go almost anywhere. I mean, I literally,
right, correct.
if I had another, 5 days of backpacking that I wanted to do from there, and I'm willing to travel, let's say 12 miles a day, you can go quite some places, right? I mean,
Yeah, you gotta do some huge loops. I mean,
yeah,
that's the same thing. Is like I've shuttled backpackers' cars to Kennedy's just for that, like you're
yeah,
saying. So we'll drop them and then we'll shuttle their cars up to Kennedy's, and they'll go all the way through. And all of a sudden you can get, you can go up to Bigelow and Blackberry. You can see all the immigrant lakes, and you can go check out all of those really neat big passes because that country on the northern end of the immigrant up there is totally different than my side.
totally different, right? Yeah,
But yeah,
it
I mean,
looks
it's
different.
huge high passes, everything's above 9,000 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. So,
I look forward to seeing your side because of all the granite, right? Because everything south that
correct.
with, like you said, that whole granite slab, it's got to be just carved up with glacial, scarring and just some unique shapes of valleys, I assume.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's crazy to see like how different rocks get placed places,
Mm-hmm.
And there's like when you drop in the Big Lake, for example, that big slick rock, it's like
Yep.
glass.
Is it?
And like where you can see where the horses ride down it because all of the granite that the horses ride down that same trail
Yeah.
all turns red from
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
horseshoes. And
See, you guys say there's no trails out there, but we're gonna be able to find it.
oh yeah, you can always find them. So they're
Yeah.
there. They've been people have been riding on them for hundreds of years. So you
Yeah.
just gotta know what to look for.
Absolutely.
So
Well, very good. We're coming about 5 more minutes left on the program here for our guests. What do guests need to know for the 2025 season? Any new programs you want to make sure that people know about, or new places that you're trying to put together, new group packages?
everything's pretty much the same. We're just happy to be going back, and if people want to book stuff, sooner the better.
Yep.
Especially if you have big parties. Little stuff, I can do all that stuff last minute. But if you got big groups or you want to do big all expense stuff, like most of my July and August is already 100% booked for those all expense camps.
Okay.
But for the normal backpacker stuff, like what you're doing and most of my customers do, that's easy. I can almost always do it. I'm never going to say no.
Right.
And, let's go have a great summer and hope everything goes good,
Yeah, remind everybody how many employees you have that help you pack in the summer on a normal basis. What kind of horses?
Depending on how busy I am, I usually have like 6 full-time guys. We're running like 100, 120 head of horses and mules. And then I have, have all your guest help and,
Mm-hmm.
all the extra guys that come help you and my old guy crew that comes and helps. And, you got all these different groups of guys. It takes an army to make it happen,
Yeah, yeah.
And I got buddies that will come help me on weekends, and that's just how it goes. And it's awesome to have that. It's like a family up there, so we're spoiled.
Awesome. I have one final question for us backpackers, because these are the questions that I haven't asked you yet. So I have to have my pack there by 6 a.m. in the morning. Where's a good place for me to camp the night before?
A lot of guys will camp right there at my place. So they'll just throw their tent out that night, and they'll stay right there, so they're close.
Okay, very good.
And that's perfect because you have bathrooms and showers, and I got all the basics amenities if someone's missing something, and I got a little tiny store with little stuff in it.
Oh, perfect. Count me in then.
Yeah, so that's the best thing to do is come just stay kind of with us the night before, and or some guys, they just have 2 separate stuff, or maybe they have a cabin in Pinecrest or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll just come up, drop their backpacks the night before, which is what most people do.
Yeah.
And then they go off, and heck, they don't have to hit the trail till 9 o'clock if they don't want to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I just need the gear early because my guys ride into Wood Lake, drop it, and then they ride home.
Very good.
So that's a long day for them,
Oh, absolutely. Most definitely. Most definitely. I assume you guys take that lower route then when you go to Wood Lake?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we go through Grouse. Most hikers like that upper route that goes by like Bear Lake or Camp Lake and Bear Lake, and because it's not as sandy. So that lower route is kind of dusty and sandy. For the horses, it's great because it's flat and it's just easy going. There's no turns, and so you can really go fast. But when you're hiking, sand just eats you up.
I hate sand. Exactly.
Yeah. So you'd rather hit some switchbacks and be on some granite on 100%. The upper trail where the switchbacks slow the horses down a lot. So
there you go. Well, you just answered my next question. I know what route I'm taking now.
And the upper trail there is a little prettier too.
That's
that bottom trail, most of it burned up in the early 2000s, and it's a kind of a mess as far as that goes. But that upper trail is pretty. It's got good vistas, and you pass some more lakes.
Fantastic. Perfect. Well, Seth, it's been great talking to you again. I thank you for coming back on the show. I hope you guys have a great season coming up. I know you guys have a big group thing in September. Usually also you go all the way into October if you can for snow. So if people are out there looking, hey, what do we do this fall? This is a great company, great opportunity. Been working with you guys for a little while, and I look forward to getting out and exploring Emigrant myself.
I appreciate it. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be hooked. Once guys go on the Emigrant, they stop going anywhere else.
I have heard that. I've heard that many times. So, all right. I know you've done my last 3 questions before, so there aren't going to be too big of surprises for you, but we're going to do them again because that's what we always do.
Okay.
Right? All right. So your bag's packed. You don't have to go horse riding, but if you're going to go anywhere in the Sierra and you have the bag packed, a free weekend to yourself, where are you heading?
For a free weekend anywhere in the Sierras?
Anywhere in the Sierras.
That's a hard question because I work at the same place since I was 13 years old. I'd be going straight back to Aspen Meadow, man.
All right. So if you're going to Aspen Meadow, what lake are you getting dropped off at?
So this winter, this fall, my wife and I always do a trip or try to in the fall. We went to Buck for 5 days just because it's easy.
Yep.
The year before that, we went to Cal, and it was awesome.
Okay.
But if I'm gonna do anywhere.
Yep.
For me, I'm going to go to Hyatt.
Hyatt. Okay. Very good.
Yep.
Very good.
Hyatt's the best lake in the Emigrant. That's where I'm going.
Very good. Good. There you heard it right there. All right. Next, we're all gearheads. I know that you've talked about this last year, but trying to tell people what's your favorite piece of gear you never leave home without when you're on the trail.
Garmin's always on my saddle, no matter what. Yeah, you can't beat that, right?
Yep.
The coolest thing that we got this year that we've been using in all our camps, first off, we got like all these canvas Teton tents, which are
Oh,
really
nice.
nice. So, and they're pretty affordable option for all expense camps. But
Mm-hmm.
we get these, they call them Lucy lights now, and they're a
Okay.
solar powered light, and they're string lights for your
Oh,
camp.
yeah.
So you can tie them up, and they're LED strings. So we use those in all our, I mean, I use them in my camp when I'm just by myself too, but for all expense camps, you set all those lights up, and they're bright enough you can walk around camp, but they're not so bright that you don't have that good feel. And they're solar powered. They're sweet. That's probably the coolest thing we've been using this summer. That's
I
pretty
like that.
fun.
I've seen those Lucy
Yeah,
lights. Those are nice. Very, very
yeah,
nice.
they're
All right.
sweet.
And final, your day after hiking, you've been on the trail all day. What's the go-to food spot around your area, or what are you barbecuing?
Um, well, if we're at the pack station, you gotta have a cold one. That's
There you
probably the first
go.
thing after a long day on the trail. A cold one, and cowboys like steaks, so
Yes.
I'm gonna go with I'm a New York guy. Most guys are ribeye guys, but anywhere I can get a good steak would be about perfect.
I like that. A cold one and steak at the ranch.
Yeah.
I'll go there too. So that sounds perfect. Seth, thank you so much, man. I look forward to see you guys in August. Have a great summer until then. And again, our guest, wherever you're at, I hope to see yours in your future. Please like, subscribe, send us all your friends. Tell everybody about the Immigrant Wilderness. It's very much an untapped opportunity for people that want to explore the Sierra. It's one of the few places that you don't have to reserve your permit 6 months in advance. You can just go to the or the Forest Service office and you just get a permit for the wilderness country, or go through Seth. He'll get you set up that way. I don't have to get a separate permit, right? I got you.
Yeah, it's all simple. You just so everybody there. Like you're saying. That's one of the coolest part about the immigrant. You just show up, and you can show up the morning of, pull yourself a wilderness permit, and
Yep.
you can go anywhere
Yeah,
for up to
exactly.
14 days.
Probably
So
one of the few places in the Sierra. Period. Most everyone else has
right,
reservations
and the
now.
other thing guys don't realize too, the immigrant it's probably one of the least regulated wildernesses, but we don't have bear boxes. We don't have to have bear canisters. Um, there's a lot of that stuff that is really cool. So it's a special place, and let's
Good to
keep it
know.
going.
I have never backpacked without a bear can, so I don't even know what that's like.
Well, you you don't have to on this trip. It's awesome. It's a different
Fantastic.
world.
Fantastic. All right, Seth, have a great day. Wherever you're at, folks, please drive safe. There's snow in the Sierra now. We know you're going to see this for a couple of weeks, but we know spring's here, and it's time to get out and hit the trails. Give Seth and these guys a call. Hope you enjoy. Get ready for your summer plans and spring plans to hiking, and we'll catch you next week on the Sierra Right Now podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Charlie.